when they know the vocabulary, they understand maybe how we're lining them up or how we're counting, then we can go into maybe numbers that are closer together.
Okay.
So we could do the cookie activity next week that we talked about with
Yep.
the bags of cookies, and then we could just have the bags of cookies from there that they were having to count with a partner or on their own, whatever we decide to do
Right.
at that time. And they could choose, I guess they could, it would depend on if we want them to match them up or if we want them to pick one of the strategies and tell us how they know which one is
And maybe
more.
if they started with one, then we can
Oh,
say,
and maybe
well,
I should
try a
do
different one.
2 types of cereal because, you know what I mean? They could be, if they were lining them up, they could get mixed up really easily.
That is a good idea. So
if we did a cookie
Fruit
cereal,
Loops and
yes,
cookies.
they could line them up
That makes
differently,
sense.
and so then they wouldn't get mixed up all the time. So then we could just do. Do you want them to do a recording sheet for that?
I always think that that's a good way to
Sure.
get them to, for share time, to have something to share and to.
So, like, obviously, we don't want them to be using greater than, less than, equal to signs,
Right,
symbols,
right.
and
Oh,
things.
yeah.
So, would you be doing, like, 2 numbers and then circle the greater?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's something that
Okay.
would be
And we
easy
can
enough for
come
them
over
to.
and talk to them about how do you know.
Right.
And especially if we get into, like, today, they kind of went through their counting so quickly because we only had into the teens. But once we get into those larger numbers, it will take them
a longer.
quite a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can make some purposefully that are equal to
Mm-hmm.
and put them in groups of things. And I don't know if it'd be easier to put both cereals in one bag so that they're all together, or if we should put them in 2 bags and keep
2 separate bags.
and
Well,
keep-
and then put them in a bigger bag. 2 little bags
Right.
and 1 bigger bag,
Yeah.
and then that's
to keep them.
Yeah.
So that we could do that activity. And then there was another one that I had found that was, they had rolled a die, so that was on their own activity. So they rolled a die, they made a set of whatever number that the die said, so 9
Of,
or
like,
whatever.
cubes?
Yes,
Okay.
whatever. And then they rolled it again, and they had to make that again, and then the same thing, they compared those. So just another
Oh,
activity
well,
of,
yeah.
so they actually physically have to count out and stop, which I thought would be good for some of them, and then count out and stop on the second one. And I have dice up to
That's just what I was going to
25.
say, and then that would be good differentiation
Mhm.
because we obviously can give.
right those kiddos
some-
that need into the
Mhm,
teens. We can
mhm.
stop with the teens
Right.
dice, and so then we can go to the 25 for the bigger
Awesome.
ones. So
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's a good one.
okay, roll and make and compare. It's a long name. And then looking at your other investigation things, like I think like bank it is good, but like this book said, it doesn't have the concrete
Right.
on there, and so that's really getting more towards the KCC 7. So we really want them to first be sure that they know how to do it in a concrete
Yes.
way, and then we can get to bank it. But I think that's
Yeah, and I
good.
think that would be good for later on.
Mhm.
I think that's definitely something we
too.
want to do. Just
Yeah, and I think the make sets of more seem or less. I mean, we could do that even in an engagement.
Okay.
You know, like the first 10 minutes, they have their cubes, and you show them maybe a numeral. We can get some numerals.
and
in
that
there.
would yeah, that would be a good way to tie some things together there.
And they can make sets of more, the same or less.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll think about this maybe for an engagement. This one's later. And we can look more into maybe making some larger inventory bags as well.
I think that's a good idea.
Just some larger amounts. Okay, well that gives us a good enough. I guess the only other thing I was thinking of when we're doing more or less the same, what are some things we want them to look for share time, or what should we look for share time?
I would say definitely how they're figuring it out
Mhm.
and how did they know
Yes.
more, the less, or the same, just getting that explanation in.
All right, how do you know, and you're organizing. Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. And we can, you know, if we are going around, and we can ask some of your more advanced kiddos especially too, and kids that are counting fewer sets could do this too, but how many fewer, how many more.
Right.
Because like Sam and those kids, those will know instantly. If I have 20 and I have 25, I know there's 5 more in that set. So we could pull some of that in as well with those kids. And then we'll just have to be deliberate and make sure we have some that are the same.
Right.
To talk about.
That stay together.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And no pieces are lost.
Right.
Okay, so more or fewer. Okay, so we have a good
And I think
plan.
just making sure that they're using that vocabulary too
That's
then during
true.
share time,
Yes.
and that they're able to say it. And
Yep. Yeah, I know that there's so many more because, and really if they could do it with their comparing, because they could say, like in this example, well, 3 and then 2 more would be 5, or they could do it with their matching, like the pictures were where I know that these 5 line up,
Right.
and then there were 9 more, whatever they had in that picture.
Yeah.
Than that. So that would be a great thing to use, and we could take some more pictures maybe and use that as well.
Okay.
Okay, good plan.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.